South Korea hasn't escaped the global surge in inflation. Price rises there are running at 24-year highs. Now the country is getting an unprecedented rate hike in response. On Wednesday, the central bank lifted its benchmark rate by 0.5 percentage point. That's the biggest increase since it adopted its current policy system in 1999. Governor Ri Chang-yong said the move wasn't made lightly.
The Bank of Korea decided to implement monetary policy by raising the base rate by 50 basis points from 1.75% to 2.25%. There was a case of cutting 50 basis points at once before, but this was the first time we've raised 50 basis points. So I would like to tell you that the decision was made with a heavy sense of responsibility.
The increase keeps the Bank of Korea at the forefront of global monetary tightening. Last month saw the US Federal Reserve raise rates by 0.75 percentage point. Central banks in Canada and New Zealand are among the latest to follow suit.
Wall Street ended in negative territory on Tuesday after a seesaw session as growing fears of a recession kept buyers out of the stock market ahead of key inflation data due out Wednesday. The Dow fell 0.6%, while the S&P 500 and NASDAQ each dropped nearly 1%. Dan Wontrobsky, Associate Director for Research at Janney Montgomery Scott, said investors' recession concerns were warranted, but said he believes a U.S. recession would be, quote, benign in scope.
We actually believe labor markets are going to remain tight, and it's actually going to be more of a consumer-led recession based on all the headline price inflation we're currently seeing and that the Fed is trying to fight. In that sense of a recession, as the stocks are trying to bottom and base here, if we look back at the history and the data, buying stocks during recession turns out, in terms of a long-term perspective, to be one of the best buying opportunities for the next several years.
The second quarter reporting season kicks off in earnest later this week with the big banks reporting, but PepsiCo got the ball rolling Tuesday, posting results that beat estimates and announced it could increase prices amid resilient demand. Shares of Boeing jumped after the plane maker's June aircraft deliveries hit the highest monthly level since March of 2019. Shares of apparel retailer Gap fell following its announcement that its CEO would step down and that margins would stay under pressure. And shares of software provider ServiceNow plunged 12.7% after its CEO warned of macro headwinds and currency pressures. That pulled down other software companies including Microsoft, Salesforce.com, and Paycom Software.
Britain's economy saw unexpected growth in May. New figures released on Wednesday showed economic output expanded by 0.5%. Economists had forecast zero growth in May from April. The Office for National Statistics pointed to health services as a major driver of growth, driven by a rise in doctor appointments. Road hauliers also had a busy month, while travel agencies fared well with pent-up demand for holidays. Over the 3 months to May, GDP was up by 0.4%. Britain's new Finance Minister, Nadhim Zahawi, welcomed the signs of growth. However, he said there was no room for complacency. Despite concerns that Britain could fall into a recession later this year, the figures could reassure the Bank of England about its plans to keep on raising interest rates in August. If it does, that would be the 6th rise since December. Most of the candidates to replace Boris Johnson as Prime Minister say they will cut taxes to revive growth. Former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak, seen as among the frontrunners in the race, says he wants to control inflation first.
African children make up the vast majority of malaria deaths each year, but efforts to deploy the world's first ever vaccine against the deadly disease appear to be falling short. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus hailed Mosquirix as a breakthrough when the UN body endorsed it last year.
But its value will be felt most in Africa.
The vaccine's effectiveness to prevent severe cases of malaria is relatively low, around 30% in a large-scale clinical trial. Nevertheless, Mosquirix has the potential to save many lives right now. Evidence for that can be found in Kenya's third-largest city, Kisumu. Rebecca Adiambo Kwanya's 4-year-old son Betran is not vaccinated, but her 18-month-old Bradley got the shot as a part of a pilot program.
Yeah, my elder one was not vaccinated and he was sick on and off. He had malaria today, tomorrow no malaria. The other day malaria, the other day no malaria. But the smaller one, he gets the vaccine and he was not even sick.
The WHO says long-term, around 100 million shots of the 4-dose vaccine will be needed each year to protect 25 million children like Bradley. But GSK is only committed to producing 15 million doses a year through to 2028. The British drug maker has invested $840 million to develop the vaccine and says it won't charge more than 5% above the cost to produce it. A spokesperson said the company could not make enough Mosquirix to meet demand without more funds from international donors. But funding is lacking. Two of the biggest donors behind Mosquirix development and pilot programs, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis and Malaria, say they are committing almost no additional finance for deployment. They've cited concerns such as relatively low efficacy and constrained supply challenges. Some officials and donors are hoping a second shot, being tested by Oxford University, may prove better, cheaper and easier to produce in bulk. International Vaccine Alliance Gavi is currently the only significant funder for a wider Mosquirix rollout. One problem is a lack of demand for a malaria vaccine in wealthier parts of the world. The huge profits pharmaceutical companies can generate there is how they say they can make products available for cheaper in poorer countries. But Mary Hamill, head of malaria vaccine implementation at the WHO, says the COVID-19 pandemic has shown how quickly things can move when there is political will and funding. But without commercial viability and enough finance, millions face being denied the protection of a vaccine against a disease that kills a child every minute.